The thorn in the government's side, Zarah Sultana's relentless scrutiny. When UK Foreign Secretary, David Cameron, sat across from Zarah Sultana on a BBC TV panel, he displayed a glaring ignorance of her identity, referring to her simply as the Labour MP. In stark contrast, Sultana, the MP for Coventry South, possesses an intimate knowledge of Cameron's past, tracing her political awakening to her ardent opposition to his tenure as Prime Minister. Shaped by Cameron's policies of austerity and the tripling of tuition fees, Sultana's political outlook was ignited by a fervent desire to address the injustices she witnessed. Elected in 2019 with a slim majority of just over 400, Sultana emerged as a fearless force within the Labour Party, harnessing her significant TikTok following, the largest among parliamentarians, to amplify her message. In an interview with Elle magazine, Sultana candidly shared her experience as the MP receiving the most online abuse and death threats. However, it is her relentless scrutiny of the government's handling of Gaza and UK arms sales to Israel that has brought her into the media spotlight. While her forthright language about Israel has occasionally necessitated apologies, Sultana meticulously researches her positions. A transformed perspective. Of Pakistani heritage, Sultana credits a visit to the West Bank, a military court, and Jerusalem with profoundly altering her perspective at the tender age of 17. She realized the stark contrast between her own freedom of movement as a British citizen and the humiliation faced by Palestinians at checkpoints. Far from alienating her local constituents, Sultana maintains that the overwhelming support she receives in her constituency, as opposed to the vitriol online, fuels her determination to hold the government accountable for its arms export policy. On the BBC, she used court documents to demonstrate that Cameron's April recommendation that Israel was not violating international humanitarian law ignored the deaths of 3 British aid workers in an Israeli strike within the past 3 months. She argued that the public would be shocked by this revelation. Challenging the Foreign Office's claim of robust arms control systems, Sultana pointed out the glaring reality: it is a completely broken system. Citing the abolition of the Commons Committee on Arms Exports, she corrected Nadim Zahawi's assertion that it played a vital role in the UK's accountability framework. Careful examination of ministerial evasions. Sultana's keen eye extends to the evasive language employed by ministers. When Cameron stated that the government's decisions were consistent with legal advice, she noted that this did not necessarily imply that Israel was complying with international law. She further pointed to reports suggesting that the Foreign Office had received advice that Israel was indeed violating international law but had yet to announce it officially. Sultana's relentless probing exposed the government's failure to adequately address the issue. They clearly have discretion to refuse export licenses on human rights grounds, she argued, citing the precautionary principle in both international and domestic law. Accountability in arms export licensing. Questioning the secretive nature of arms export licensing, Sultana advocated for the transfer of this authority from individual ministers to an independent body of experts. She emphasized the absence of viable accountability systems, citing the UK's refusal to recognize the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court over the occupied Palestinian territories. Sultana expressed concern that the UK's international reputation was being irreparably damaged. "We are meant to be upholding the international rules-based system," she asserted, "but we've allowed those to be undermined." She warned that the UK's voice would be disregarded in future conflicts if it failed to take a principled stand now. Political influence. Despite her Corbynite political views being at odds with the current Labour leadership, Sultana's influence within the regional Labour Party appears to be growing. When the party faced backlash from Muslim voters over its stance on Gaza, Sultana became a key voice in addressing their concerns. Her intervention may have contributed to the Labour Party's avoidance of a more significant loss in the West Midlands mayoralty race. Independent Muslim grassroots candidates have announced their intention to stand in the West Midlands, potentially posing a threat to Sultana's seat. Nevertheless, she remains undeterred in her determination to hold Foreign Secretary Cameron accountable for his decisions.